So we're getting to I Need You, the original version, and we're not having subtitles on for the lyrics. I know that that's really debatable whether to or not, but I personally feel, because of like how they've talked about the songs in the story, that it's easier to focus on the story without the lyrics on the video. Plus, that means we have potential second video action where I make you listen to the lyrics of the song. But know that we have no lyrics for I Need You, but for videos that obviously have speaking, those will have subtitles on them. So, don't worry. Your girl is a theorist. I know how to present these things. So let's dive on in. He knows nothing going in, and I'm not going to try to lead at all. So these are going to be first thoughts, first opinions, and we're not trying to solve the story.
And if I get it all wrong...
It's okay.
It's just an alternate universe.
Yeah.
A parallel universe. Think of it this way.
Yes, it's all a parallel universe, guys.
Yes, it could be a completely different storyline in just a different universe.
I haven't told him anything.
Okay.
So, we're just going to dive on in, and we're going to do it I'm going to put the list down in the description. There's going to be the videos in the order we watch them. We're just doing them in order they were released. I'm not trying to, like, put things in order at all or whatever. So, just the start of it. Ready?
3,
2, 1, go. My pup's right here. I don't know if you can see her.
So sad.
They're all very sad. Sad, pretty boys. I'm gonna try not to talk. You guys know that's hard for me.
Should I be talking?
You don't... No, pay attention. They want you to focus more than they want you to talk.
Really? Okay.
For the theories, yes.
All into ashes.
That means the most beautiful moment in life in Chinese. This is 19 plus. I hope you're old enough.
It might be. One of my favorite shots.
That's the first entry in the story.
Okay.
So I'll have you talk about it, but if you have any questions about like who was who, let me know, because I can tell you.
Okay.
Like in terms of like, oh, was this that person that did that, or you know.
That's okay. I could see basically what I think I was seeing.
Yes. And this again is just entry 1. Everybody was confused when this came out.
There were a number of different things happening.
Yes.
Obviously, there was a lot of suicidal tendency type stuff.
Yes.
A lot of things aren't going well. I don't have a lot of anything. I've lost a lot of stuff. I'm trying to deal with life, but at the same time, I want to have fun with my friends. There are these little moments of fun and these moments where I'm feeling like everyone's together, and then they're not anymore. Times when, hey, work is going to do things, and then suddenly all this money I'm making isn't making you happy. I don't care. Reaching out for the sunlight, but then looking at drowning as being maybe a way out, or fire as a way out. And then when you finally get so frustrated, you start doing something you don't want anyone to know about, that you've already done, and you can't cover it up. You don't see a way out, so it's another suicide type thing. So basically it's someone inside screaming for love, attention, companionship, who doesn't know how to get any of those things. Mm-hmm. Am I someplace close?
Like I said, I'm not giving opinions because this is all about your interpretation. Because, again, with art, what you just said is valid, right?
Yes.
So, that's I Need You, which is basically going to be a lot of me making screaming eyes at you guys, which I hope you saw. Cause I'm obsessed with this story. Mm-hmm. So I'm fangirling in my brain the entire time, but I don't want to lead.
Well, and taking the flower petals and trying to make something beautiful in a place that is gray and dingy, trying to do something but feeling like you can't make anything better, and failing.
Yeah. And like you're mentioning, like some very obvious like elemental and physical symbols, you know, the flower, fire, the water, the bathtub, when you're trying to take an overdose and you're spilling medicine and you just don't care because you're not really sure what you can do to deal with it. Yep. Absolutely. And being alone is a huge fear. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. We're going to continue on now to episode 2 of Theory Watching, and we're doing Prologue. So a thing about this, because we're not doing the highlight reels on, mostly because the comic is solving that at this point, and for all the reasons I mentioned at the beginning of the video with the little minute segment I'm going to do, this Prologue video is the original version of Prologue. Because if you go to the one on Big Hit's channel, they've cut the end scene out of it, and they did that around Wings era, I think because they were changing the story a little. But this is going to be the original one that most of you have seen. Just most people who are International Army watched this version and didn't notice that the old one changed. So there will be the after credits scene on this one. Just letting y'all know, so as theorists, you can't be like, she showed you the wrong one. That scene doesn't matter anymore. So yeah, we're going to dive right on in. If you hear extra noise, it's because people are upstairs or my dog's making noise next to me. But let's get into this, shall we? 3, 2, 1, go! So this picks up right after I Need You.
Okay.
Which will become apparent pretty quick.
Yeah. I recognize the music behind it.
Yeah.
Claire de Lune.
Mm-hmm.
I see it's as upbeat as the last one.
Yeah, the whole story is really upbeat.
But this is a follow-on on that one.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I think it's pretty apparent it follows right after. Hyung means big brother. Who you call a friend. So it's in.
That's fine.
No, I'm saying the Chinese character. Just so you know.
If it's a Chinese character, why are they South Korean?
Because South Korea often uses a few Chinese characters symbolically.
Okay. Just checking.
Most of East Asia does. I actually really, really like this video. You guys, I literally just noticed Namjoon picks up a crab. I never noticed that before now. All right. Good? Ready to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Now that it's been a little while.
Right?
Yeah.
So you guys just saw the little sign I put up. The camera died right in the middle of watching this, and actually since that time, my mom, his wife, has destroyed the room that we were filming in to like remodel. So
She loves playing with sledgehammers.
Right? So we've met up again to discuss this video and to finish recording the rest of the videos. Thank you guys for being so patient. But that's why we're in different clothes and in a different location. But we did rewatch to refresh, and we're going to talk about it now for you guys. So, okay. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts. Well, you begin with the blood on the hands, which is a follow-on to the previous video.
Yes.
And so, basically, he knows he has some deep, dark secrets of his own. He knows there are things he wants to hide. You can tell that by the fact that he's trying to wash his hands. He's trying to clean up his clothes, but he's not doing a very good job of it.
Oh, like a metaphorical?
Yeah, he's metaphorically trying to clean himself up.
He has blood on his hands.
Not only physically, but mentally. And that's why he calls for help and tried to get
to figure out what to do because he doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the scene where he's lying down on the mattress. He's trying to relax, but he can't really relax until he's with his friends.
Mm-hmm.
His friends come along, and they try to cheer him up. They get him going, and he kind of puts aside his worries and his fears and all that kind of stuff. And the reason I think it's Butterfly is he's coming out of his shell, and he's trying to fly. But the other thing that they're pointing out is that butterflies don't last that long, and they can only live so long. And so it's a fragile thing. It's much more fragile than the caterpillar that started with. And so they're going through there, and he's trying to get along with everybody. They're having good times, they're having bad times, they're remembering things. And then near the end, they're trying to say, well, where do we go from now? And as you pointed out, the negative was blank that they were showing. Should we go here?
Oh, yes, when they were around the fire.
When they're around the fire. It means that's, to me, symbolic
when Jim
of
says,
it could be anything. He doesn't care where. It's just someplace as long as he's with his friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they go out and they're having fun on the beach and they're all talking, but he's starting to go back into his own shell because he's realizing that he's still not free. And that last scene where he's jumping off into the water is him trying to free himself from all this, but he, like a butterfly, he's falling apart.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah. I think it absolutely
Something like
makes
that.
sense. Yeah.
And then there's that last little bit where the other guy's looking at the water and thinking about his friends and
Jin in the car.
Jin in the car.
The very end scene.
The very end scene.
Yeah, that's Jin.
And wishing he could have done something more.
You think that's what he's pondering about?
I think he's thinking of how could I have done something different
To help my friend. Mm-hmm.
Or made it better, because I don't think he understood everything that was going on either.
Yeah. Did you have thoughts about why his the other friend was missing out of the picture? Because they took the selfie and he had a friend pop out and do this, but his friend's not in that picture when he looks back at it.
I hadn't caught that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the reveal there.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the picture out, he looks at it, now it's only him in the picture, and he looks a little sad, and that's when it ends.
Well, maybe that could be him thinking that could have been me. Maybe I'm like him. Maybe they're both me.
Like they're... So do you mean that metaphorically, or that they're parts of him?
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically, okay.
That's what he perceives. Is maybe he's all alone.
So like maybe
even all together they're still all alone.
Mm-hmm.
And all needing to be free somehow, but only feeling free when they're together, and only temporarily.
Gotcha. And so that scene you see is like totally metaphorical, or do you think there was a physical moment where someone disappeared out of a picture?
I don't know. I guess I'm more metaphorical.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's fine. I'm just asking questions. Very good. And
Perception.
I mean, obviously, as the story goes on, you'll get more information and more thoughts or more. I tend.
And since I can be completely wrong and be okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, all of us can be completely wrong. And to be honest, I feel a lot of times when I'm looking at theories that I try to solve the story, but I also really like to look at it as metaphorical, or like what is happening in a physical story and why are they telling that story? You know what I mean? I think I often separate those from a lot of different puzzles I'm trying to solve, because I think both are intended, you know? So speaking metaphorically is totally fine.
And a lot of times it's just like music. You can have one piece of music and 5 different people love it because of what it says to them, and it's completely different to each person.
And it could have nothing to do with the person who wrote it.
Right. And so what they might be trying to send might be surprising at what people see. Because it's completely changed.
Yeah. That's art, baby.
That's how it works.
All right, awesome. So that's Prologue. We're going to go on now to Run. And then, as y'all know, we're going through the short films and we're going up to Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then we'll kind of reassess.
Oh, I haven't heard Blood, Sweat, and Tears since the 60s.
Different song.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I could throw a filter over it and look like it was made in the 60s, but yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys are enjoying this too. I've been so involved in these series for so long and know so many little details about it that this is almost cathartic to me to watch and be like watching it with new eyes again. Or like, what if we throw all of that away and just look at it for what it is once more?
Are you thinking, later I can show my dad how silly he was not to have caught on this?
No, you're doing fine.
Okay.
I look too deep. I'm the crazy one. Like,
okay.
You're the normal one. I'm the one who hasn't sat and, like, watched this in its entirety because I've been picking it apart for so long. It's nice to sit back and go, oh, I remember that I really liked this just as a video, not as something to study. You know? All right, guys. So now we're on to Run. And this is the one where you're going to see me fangirl scream with my eyes through the whole thing because it's very hard for me not to just tell you things. And I really like this video because I became a fan and watched these before we even started the channel. I've never gotten to watch these with you guys. So I don't know if I've even said that, but I love Run, and I love the video of Run, and there are scenes in this that I wish I had filmed first, because if I copy them now as a filmmaker, everybody will know what I copied them from. But let's just get on in.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's run.
Yeah, let's run. 3, 2, 1, go. I clicked it twice. Go. All of this is cut out now because I forgot to turn the volume back on.
You go back to your 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll go to go. 3, 2, 1, go! And again, guys, we're not looking at the lyrics to these. We're just watching the videos because they don't matter much. I think this one matches up okay, but it... For context, this is the guy who jumped at the end of Prologue.
I'm glad I didn't splat.
Yeah. I'll just randomly say this is the one scene that takes away the lollipop as a cigarette metaphor because he just dunked it in his coffee, and that's caused a lot of people to wonder what that's about. All in reality, he just said he'd heard people do it to make it sweeter, so he did it. I'll be quiet.
You better be.
I know, it's hard.
I gotta concentrate.
favorite shot. Ugh. So jealous.
On again.
Now your credit.
Is my name in it?
No.
Okay.
And for just reference, the little video here on the side is the one member's camera that he's been filming everyone with.
Mm-hmm. Along with the rat.
The one guy being Jin.
Mm-hmm. Who has the bad camera?
Part.
No, it's black and white with the greens.
Yeah. It's still pretty up in the air. This is not spoiling. If this is still part of the story or just kind of a behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I love Hitman Bang's little monster.
Mm-hmm.
Now here is something to pay attention to though. Remember that picture? Someone's missing again. There you go. That's Run. Give me thoughts.
Okay.
I'm so excited I have to hold my dog.
You have to hold the dog too? Here.
Sure. I mean,
Here.
she might be mad because she's tired.
No, she likes me.
She does like you a lot.
Okay. Especially when I do this.
Right.
Okay. So the video starts basically where the other one ends up because he falls into the water. So he's in the water.
Yes.
Symbolically.
Yes.
Symbolically immersed in something. that he's not sure he likes because he feels like he's drowning, but at the same time he feels like he's freeing himself. Okay? So, starts out, and he's out there with his friends, and he's running, and they're pulling him into everything. They start doing pretty stupid things. Graffiti, which I hate, by the way. Drawing on each other, not caring about what it hurts, just as long as they're having fun. Even when they're running away from the police, they're trying to have fun. When they get arrested, they try to have fun. They're trying as hard as they can to have fun doing things that I think are wrong, and that I think they know are wrong, but they're trying to be part of the group, part of the crowd. I can't understand how they would have gotten that truck sideways in the tunnel to block all those cars. And then I would probably started getting a lot madder at those guys with their painting graffiti on my car.
Yeah.
I would not like that at all. And I think they were pointing out that was totally disrespectful, spitting on people's cars, doing everything they can to make fun of them and hurt them and then laugh at them. But I think through it all, the guy who is drowning is realizing he's not sure he wants to be part of any of that, because he's recognizing it's disrespectful and bad, and it's not a good type of fun, and it can be dangerous, and even when the two of them are together and they're beating each other up in a drunken state.
There's two different members. But
it's still part of you're not really having fun.
Yeah, it's falling apart.
It's falling apart. Agreed. And then as they're trying to constantly run, they're just trying to outrun their problems and outrun the fact that they know they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And when he keeps walking in and they're all there and doing the party thing, they're even pushing him into the bathtub back under the water.
It's a different person.
Different person, but still, it's a drowning situation.
Yeah, it's the one who drowned in the bathtub in the first one.
Right. So, at the end, when in the scene where he has the picture of the car,
yes,
with all the people, and he's burning it, he could either be memorializing it, or he could be saying, "I don't want any part of this.
Gotcha.
I want to get rid of that out of my life."
Either way, it's over.
It's over. It's something he's realized is not good for him. It makes him drown. And there was that black butterfly card.
Yes, in the feathers.
There, showing that it's still attempting to be a butterfly, but it wasn't a pretty butterfly. It was a dark butterfly. And maybe that's a dark type of freedom that he may not want.
Yeah. Or like a tainting of the original friendship.
Right.
Absolutely.
Anything else that I'm missing?
So, originally, in the past we've watched Young Forever. That was in the first video we did. That's technically part of this, but it's kind of an end cap. Originally, this was the story. These 3 videos, that's why there's credits. This was what it was meant to be. So, you've technically now seen what was originally supposed to be the story. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask just a few kind of leading questions. I'm not going to say my thoughts on them, but they're things that are interesting to point out going forward. Okay. So, especially since you're still figuring out who is who, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to conflate certain symbolism because,
Which daughter are you?
Right?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's just your age. Everybody knows everything
it's called
about the story.
senility.
No.
Yes.
So, the first thing I want to point out, I'm going to kind of do it chronologically, I think, because there's only a few. What do you think of that moment right before the pillow fight where you have 2 members who are in like a cement room in different clothes and it transitions constantly into like normal life or, them running, but there's a couple shots, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Basically, it first looks like they've just been arrested. They're in a holding cell. So in prison, and then they start deciding, who cares? and they're destroying prison property, and they're right back into their old thing. And it's kind of like when he goes into the big party, and it's all happening, and then he pans back and nobody's actually there.
Yeah.
Where he wants so much to be included, but he's not sure he wants to be included.
Yeah, and I think that, because I can't help myself, that scene kind of is the most of what you're talking about, right? So that's the guy his friend was drunk, he's trying to control his friend, he looks really sad, and his friend hits him, and he falls, and you go from like everybody's there at the party while he's shocked, zooms into his shocked face, and he looks away, everything's gone. So that sounds like what you're talking about this whole time, like something's gone wrong in the friendship. Right. The friend group is falling apart.
You think they're going the wrong direction.
Exactly. He's having this moment of realization of like, I thought this was a party.
Kind of like my moment of realization is, what would I have done to the person who's spray painting my car?
Right? That's something else I want to get to. So a little fact that a lot of people, international people who don't speak Korean, have not caught on to, I haven't seen it in a lot of theory videos, is they're trashing these cars, right? And the one guy, so the one who's parked is the same guy who was at the end of the last video with the picture of the person disappearing. Okay. And he's the one who built the house of cards and his friend smacked him out. He's the one who keeps looking.
Oh, I forgot all about the house of cards.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to talk about the house of cards?
Oh, the symbolism there is pretty easy.
Right.
It's a fragile lifestyle. And one little thing goes wrong, everything falls apart.
Yes.
Because you get arrested, you go to prison. Mm-hmm. Everything falls apart. Yeah. You may not have freedom anymore. And so they're playing, when they're playing these types of games, they are the house of cards that can fall apart.
Yeah.
And they knock and one guy has the card in his mouth chewing on it. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't care if it falls apart.
Yeah. So, for story and clarity, the one who built the house of cards is the driver and also the guy who's been filming everything. Okay. The one who knocks it apart is the one who jumped and who's drowning. And he's also the one who's graffitiing with his friend. So that's the same guy.
Okay. So he's trying to destroy that house of cards.
Exactly. I'm only saying this because you're already saying it. Okay. You know what I mean? I'm just backing...
Except I get mixed up.
Exactly. That's why I'm not going to just throw people out, but if it works with what you're talking about, I'll kind of back you up. But going back to that car tunnel scene, you have that guy driving, sitting in the car, and everybody's trashing the cars. Right before they start running, you hear people starting to yell out of their cars, right? What they're yelling, what is yelled is, move your car. It's not get off my car, stop spray painting my car,
stop going crazy, booze on my car.
They're yelling, move your car.
And the guy who's driving the car picks up all these guys and gets them out of there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, because it's not a fact, I'm just a theorist. If you find anything interesting about the fact that that's what they're yelling, instead of yelling at everybody who's actually messing with their cars, they're yelling at the driver, like, move your car. And it's okay if you say it doesn't mean anything to me.
I don't know. I mean, I would have a hard time believing anyone would just be saying, move along. We don't care what you're doing.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that.
All right.
So I think that they're yelling, move your car. That's just one of the problems. First, it would be move your car, and the next one is, I hope you can go real fast because I'm about to break off your side mirrors with a bat. Okay.
So you're the one going to prison at the end of all of this.
Yes, probably.
Okay. So those two, and then honestly, I think that's about it. Like, there are a lot of little questions I could ask, but they're meaningless to you right now.
Well, some scene that you can think of that I probably caught but just didn't recall as I'm rambling.
I would point out that as you're processing things, once again, everybody has the same symbolisms. So, like, the guy in the bathtub is pretty much always the guy in the bathtub. The guy who's not really part of the group, he's always recording, he's driving, he's the one always in the back of the group, is always the same guy. The guy with the lollipop is always the guy with the lollipop,
He's the only one with the lollipop?
He's the only one.
He doesn't share?
No, he doesn't share at all.
So he's the greedy one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 7 members, 7 deadly sins. He's greed, right? No.
Okay.
No, that's not really a theory.
Especially since that's the wrong culture anyway.
Yes, I know. Absolutely right.
Okay.
I think
like sloth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you picked up on
most of
pretty much everything. Yeah, the most important scenes. I find it's not theory, but I find it personally meaningful. The guy who gets beaten up in the first video, like jumped in the alley, is the one whose closest friend of the group hits him during the alcohol fight. I always thought that, wow, that would be shocking if like what you're dealing with in your normal life is getting bullied, and then the friend that you go to get away from being bullied is the one who ends up hitting you as everything's falling apart. That always just stood out to me. Because again, you will not see it because you have yet to be able to tell them truly apart. But all of, there's duos that go through the same thing.
Well, in that fight scene, I saw I'm mad and I'm drunk and I'm just doing something because I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then going to I'm really mad, and then no, we're just playing. All sorts of different changes of emotions during that scene.
We're just playing.
When they're turning around and doing other things in the
when the people are partying in the room.
No, but I mean, even during the fight, he's not going out for the knockout punch at the end.
True. Oh, I get what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
I always interpreted that.
It's kind of like he's thinking through things as he's in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, I always interpreted that scene as a quick glimpse that one of them is raging and alcoholic and the other one's really sad about it. But yeah, I can see what you mean.
But like one might be starting to be doing it because he's mad, and then he's trying to get the other guy to stop doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Instead, not just total hate.
Yeah.
Thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ends with a guy throwing a chair against a mirror that has a beautiful bouquet reflected in it, which goes right along with your symbolism again, right? He's destroying this beautiful thing. Yeah, I really do think that you picked up on all of the basic stuff. So from here, this was the original trilogy.
Okay.
Then they continue the story for the next album. So this was one album. They continue it on. My personal belief is that this theory got so popular that they wrote new story for it. That's not confirmed at all. People in the comments might get upset about that. But I think it's really important to talk about the theory in terms of eras, because I think the intent of the story, the message of the story, can change a little bit by era. And to be honest, I think in the grand scheme of things, you kind of nailed the story this time around. Yeah, so knowing that this is the end, what do you think some of the overarching themes as a whole are? Like, what is the purpose of having these 3
What is the moral of this story?
Yeah, like, what do you think, knowing, like, this could have been the end of this story?
Okay.
Well, actually, Young Forever was where they get out of the gates. The first video we watched, you remember what I'm talking about.
The one with the maze?
The chain link fences.
Yeah,
and they all end up getting out. But that's because it's got little scenes interspersed from this story in it.
Okay.
But I think with the credits, this could have been the end. So with only knowing what you know, what do you think they were trying to get across? What do you think?
So if it were a fable, and it was trying to teach me the moral of the story.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is you can't run away from your own problems by palling around with a lot of friends who themselves have problems. Freedom doesn't come at the expense of others. Freedom is fragile. Freedom comes from doing the right things with the right people at the right times, not without hurting or disparaging anyone else. And friendship is important, but not all-encompassing.
Yeah, it can't fix everything.
It doesn't fix a lot of things. Sometimes it's a temporary. It's kind of like a pain medicine. You can escape your pain for a little while without thinking about it, but it's going to still come back.
Yeah.
And you're still going to have to deal with things.
Mm-hmm.
So doing stupid things with your friends means you're going to be dealing with that for a long time.
Yeah. And since it's been a little while since you saw the first one too, I know one thing you're talking about a lot in the earlier video too was, they're so happy together and alone. There's so much going on with all of them.
And they're finally trying to find their way out.
Yeah.
That would be like the fourth.
Yes, the chain link maze.
Okay, in which they can see each other and they can see where they're going. Some of them are getting out and others aren't. But they can, but they don't know how to help the other people get out. They only can find their own way out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Awesome. I think the only thing that personally I would add on to that is also the underlying message of you don't know what everybody's actually going through.
Mm-hmm.
Everything can seem happy among your friends, and then all of you go home, and there's depression and abuse, and
you still have those deep,
drugs.
dark secrets that you're holding inside, trying to hide with the fact that you're with your friends.
And as we see in Run, you can't hide them forever. They're gonna start boiling out, right?
Yeah.
Until you're in a drunken fight with your best friend and end up throwing a chair against a mirror. All right, so now we are starting the short films. So what the short films are is, so they had an album, Wings, and these were teasers to promote the album.
Okay.
So there's 7 videos, each one starring one member, and there's always going to be a music sting in the video because in Wings they had solo songs.
What's a music sting?
So, like, there'll be a moment of, like, a part of a song or a lyric, like a 3-second clip of something. Because each member had a solo song, and so technically these teasers are teasing their solo work.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
So, parts of their songs will work their way in. What else? Oh, and this is...
I guess I would have called that a hook.
Yeah, a hook. Similar idea. Just that's why there will suddenly be a music tiny bit because these are technically mini commercials, but they are all story. And also at this point, the whole Wings era is influenced by a novel called Jimin that I'm sure you haven't read. Right?
No, but Demian from a demon.
No, Demian. It's a name.
Demian.
Yes. So this was a novel, I believe...
It's not like a demon with wings.
No. So this was a coming-of-age short story, I believe, in either the early 1900s, like 1800s, that was written. And the concept of the book is, it's about a young man named Sinclair who makes a friend in high school named Demian, who's kind of an all-around bad influence. And so the whole book is kind of this war of good and evil, like Sinclair being
like what's a demon?
Yeah, I mean in a way, but it's very linked to Gnosticism more than that, or Jungian theory more than Christianity.
Demon type thing.
And the sorry for spoilers if you still plan on reading Demian. Most army have already read it. At the end, you find out that Demian is just another half of Sinclair.
Okay.
So it's kind of coming of age in accepting the good and the bad in ourselves, and we can only really find peace if we embrace both, right? So the reason I mention this is some of the symbolisms from that, like it might seem something like, well, this guy was not a painter in the first one. That's because it's something from the novel. But also every short film begins with an English line.
Okay.
And they're lines from that book.
Okay.
So they're not just suddenly saying these things. This is someone reading an excerpt from that book that has something to do with this story.
Okay.
So where this is going is kind of individually explaining the different characters a little more in depth without their friends around them. So I think that it's helpful for someone like you who is trying to be like, wait, who did this? Who did that? Each one is just one person.
Okay.
And it's focused on their individual story within the larger story.
Okay.
I'm sorry if that was an overload.
My head. No, sorry.
But I'm kind of also saying it so you guys know what he knows, where he's coming from. Because, again, this is literally all he's heard about the short films, except that there are short films. So that is what he's going into this knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with short film number 1, Begin. The name of the video is Begin. And
That's probably a good beginning of these.
right? And this stars the youngest member of the group, Jungkook,
Okay.
who is the one who's beaten up in the alley and hit by a car in the first one.
Ouch.
He's...
And he can still make the film.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's why we know these are nonlinear. Other important moments, he's the one who was trying to help his alcoholic friend and got hit, and has that moment where they zoom in on him and then zoom out and the people are gone. That's this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, like, that's who this is. Those are his big moments. And his symbol, because all of them kind of have a symbol. Honestly, I think Jungkook's thing is getting hit by a car. So, like, car lights, car screeches, car sounds. He wasn't really tied to an element at this point. Yeah. I think at this point he was pretty underdeveloped, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
let's get here. That's all.
Right.
Let's do this. So 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, you watch too,
Go.
okay?
And these are so short, we can watch them the second time if you want to, but if you get everything you need to on the first watch time. These do have English subs.
The rhythms of day and night, two different words coming from two opposite poles, mingle during this time.
I'll just say before this begins, I love this one. I want them to do horror.
Okay.
So, I told you this when we're starting to get into the surreal.
Okay.
So, what do you think?
Well, obviously they are doing the day and night. They're doing the good and bad, but what he's done is he's gone back in time to when he didn't have much and it's not so much he didn't have many things. It's more he didn't see himself as being much.
Mm-hmm.
And he's painting himself. He's trying to create himself. But at the same time, things around him are messing him up. He's seeing things burning up, chances going up in flames. He sees himself being torn apart, messed over. But on the envelope he picks up, he sees both butterflies and birds. And at the end, his shadow is that of a phoenix, which is born out of flames and becomes great and fiery. So basically, even though he had such beginnings where he thought everything was falling apart, he could be born out of the flames and out of the desolation and become great.
Very cool.
Did that work?
Yeah. Again, this
Something close?
to me, these short films are the most up for interpretation.
Okay.
So yes, I mean, as you watch them, certain things will build, like certain symbols, certain ideas, but
the thing is, the phoenix being a more of a Western type of symbol throws me a little bit.
I always thought of the phoenix as... Well, what was the beginning of the phoenix? Greek mythology?
I think so. I would have expected them to draw more on Eastern culture. You know, this is almost kind of like the Chinese yin yang stuff.
Yin yang.
But it's really light and darkness. Yeah. Everybody has these. Even people who are great see themselves as not being very good inside. Yeah. They see their faults, or they see themselves as great. And sometimes, one minute they see themselves as great big, and other times they see themselves as small. It's kind of like when I'm doing something great, I think at work, and then I make a really stupid mistake, and it's kind of like I take a little needle and my head shrinks right back down.
And yet at the same time, your light and your dark sides make you complete.
Right. The dark side, these things that we see bad in ourselves keep us from becoming too proud and keep us teachable. But we need to see the good in ourselves to make us feel some kind of self-worth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think perhaps too, there is a lot of Western imagery in some of the stuff they're doing, both because, you know, the West influences the East these days, but the novel they're drawing on is a British novel, too.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just like the other video that we watched.
I think it's British. Maybe it's American.
That had all sorts of English graffiti.
Yes.
It's kind of like...
Actually, when I went to Seoul, there's a lot of English all over the place. I get the feeling, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that a lot of English is trendy in Korea. Like, I heard recently that there are these old campaign sweaters from a 1994 campaign. They've gotten very popular over there. People are wearing them all over the place because it looks cool. It doesn't matter what it was for.
Right.
So you'll find a lot of like English graffiti, English and Western influence, but it's kind of filtered through the lens of people who are seeing that as a different culture that's kind of cool and different, you know. But yeah, definitely. And again, you know, your thoughts and ideas might shift as you watch them because they do build on each other. Oh yeah. Like some symbolism comes back in other videos. Yeah,
and like you mentioned, I could see a film one day and have one interpretation. The next day, I could see something different and feel something different just because the experiences of the day. Yeah.
And also, even if these go together, they were released separately. So there's a reason why something was made on its own and a reason why it's a part of a whole. And I think it's really important to talk about what we see in something as a standalone.
Yeah, too. Especially since they're talking light and dark, which are opposites. Fire and water, which are opposites. Flight and ash, which are opposites.
Yeah. Creation and destruction.
Yeah. And I think that's what your book that they're basing it is based on.
Yeah, it's very Gnostic and very Jungian theory, and that's a big part of that. Is like the persona and the real self, the having to accept every part of yourself to be able to be okay as a full person, and that means admitting when you're bad at something, admitting when you're weak about something, admitting all these things so you can acknowledge it and either get better or embrace it because it's just a part of yourself. If like you're scared of something or you're, you know. So
and also definitely. The over-exaggerations we see in ourselves.
Exactly.
Where we may not be as bad as we think, and we might be as good as we think. Because if you take a look at the picture that he was drawing of himself, it was horrible.
Yes.
And it was only getting worse. But he's probably not a phoenix either.
Yeah, and I really find it interesting, and it doesn't mean you're wrong, that you see a self-portrait in that picture. It's very up in the air who that is.
I see that as himself as 50.
I mean, that's
how
definitely...
he saw himself at 15.
Oh, yeah. That could be. And again, there's no actual answer.
Right.
And that is something people say. That's not like you're out of left field.
Okay.
I just think that's one of the things I find really cool to see how people interpret that. Because...
But he could also be seeing himself as a phoenix in this group.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now I'm a superstar. And back then, I couldn't see anything good about myself.
Yeah.
And I felt everything was against me. When the birds flew over,
Mm-hmm.
it gave more the impression of bats than birds.
Yeah, that sound for sure. Yeah.
So it sounded more like he could have interpreted something that was good as something bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he didn't see it clearly.
Yeah.
Good.
Which I think is relatable, right? Who saw everything clearly at 15? Oh, of course you did.
I know everything.
You've never been 15.
That's true.
You've always been exactly what you are now.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
All right, guys. So we're going to move on to Lie next. As always, it's an early access film.
It just
If you
said Jimin. What did you think?
She does not care.
No. She cares deeply. See?
No, she's going, I have also always been here. I am the Abraxas and the god of this world. I don't care about your light and dark sides. Right?
We're just here to serve you. We
Right?
understand.
She just is who she is, which is something we should learn from, right?
Are you ready? Okay.
She's like, I am trying to sleep, fools. All right. So now, guys, I don't know why I keep doing this at the beginning of everything. We're starting.
How?
So now we're on to the second short film called Lie. And this is Jimin. So he is the one who was drowning in the bathtub a couple different times. Okay. He is also the one with the orange hair in the last video who was in the prison with the other one who starts the pillow fight. Yeah, or you interpret it as a prison. I'm not saying it's a prison.
I was saying it was a prison.
Yeah, just so people aren't like, why are you telling me it's a prison? Because this video might actually clarify things a bit. But that's the one. So he's the one who... his symbols tend to be water, bathtubs, and it's very clearly like depression. Mm. Like, it's water sadness, things like that. So this is called Lie.
Drowning in tears.
Yes, or just water as symbol. I'm not saying this is what the theory is, but in literature, water is also often a symbol of being deep thoughts, like it's stuck in your own head. Hmm. So, too much self-reflection sometimes, drowning, things like that.
Totally immersed in yourself.
Exactly, but in like not in a narcissistic way, in a beating yourself up way. And again, not saying that's what's going on here, guys, but I'm talking way too much. So this is a Lie.
Yeah, he's lying right now.
Right. 3, 2, 1, go.
My parents' house made up one rhythm. This rhythm was familiar to me in almost every way. Mother and father, love and strictness, model behavior, and school.
I love this short film so much, you guys. Guys, it's on a playlist, so sorry it hops. It's a lie. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, basically, it starts out with talking about how his parents had specific expectations for him. He will, and basically the model citizen. You follow the rules, you do everything just so. But inside, he was not that kind of person. He did not want to live that kind of life. He didn't see himself as that kind of person. And he's sitting there trying to fit in the ink blots there. At first, I was trying to figure out what kind of ink blots they were. But then they ended up with apples and taking a bite of an apple.
Mm-hmm.
It represented that kind of life, that kind of healthy life.
Mm-hmm.
And then they showed the drug addiction type stuff. Basically, like it's all of these lies are like a medication to try to keep him from being who he thinks he is, or to hide from who he is. Is drug addiction part of his persona?
No, that's a different character.
Okay. Because I saw that cocktail of
Yes.
drugs and a medical bed.
Yes.
And so that's why I was kind of wondering if that was part of that.
So again, very up for interpretation.
Right.
It's widely accepted that when the pills look like that, that it's actual medication, like
Okay.
from a doctor. a
Okay, so in other
prescription.
words, they're trying to tranquilize him, try to keep him sedate, try to keep him from being out of the box.
Mhm.
But he doesn't feel he's in the box. He sees that being inside the box as a type of hell
Mhm.
for him. And that's the symbolism of fire, the backwards rain,
Mhm.
raining up,
Yeah.
and then the lie is coming up through the water and then back. It's kind of like everything's reversed. It's all a lie. It's all fake.
Mhm.
And he's trying to move his perspective to see that viewpoint for other people, but he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where I'm
Again,
going?
it's art, man.
I just saw that the drugs, to me, and from my Western
Yeah.
background, that's an addiction.
Yeah.
Because there were so many of them, and they were in a cocktail glass, like if it was,
Like a drink,
it was, yeah, like a drink that you would take for fun or recreation, rather than something you would take. If I'd seen a medicine bottle,
Yeah.
that would have been a different symbol to me.
So you could definitely be right. I'm not
Right.
countering anything. In the past, and even not really spoilery, but in the future, there's kind of a theme of over medicating your children.
Okay.
So like similar to how we talk here about how easy it is for kids to be put on ADHD or depression pills or anything
Right.
like that.
A
So-
drug martini is
Exactly.
like that.
So I have in my personal interpretation, when they use the orange and white pills as opposed to like the white pills that the one guy ate a bunch of at the beginning of the first video.
Okay.
That it's symbolic of like society is literally trying to tranquilize him.
Mhm.
Like he has trouble, put him on a medication,
Right.
and the medication never seems to end.
Keep him in line. Keep him from
And I believe that's why he's in a
being
hospital
out
bed.
of there. Mm-hmm.
One thing that you didn't notice, I didn't want to say anything about because I like your interpretations, is when you're talking about a prison cell in Run,
Uh-huh.
there are IVs behind that bed, so it's
Okay.
more like a hospital room.
Okay, could be.
Um,
So basically, it's more on the line of he's depressed and they're trying to deal with it with medication, and he doesn't want to be on medication, but he's still depressed,
yeah,
and he doesn't know how to get out of the lie of who he's trying to pretend to be, because he's trying to make everyone happy with who he is, but he doesn't feel like that's who he is,
yeah.
so he's depressed.
Yeah. And I didn't mention those things because I think it still falls into your narrative.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, it's art. Interpret these however you want, because I think of all of them, Lie is probably my personal favorite because I read a lot into it.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily for the reasons you're saying, but just that's why I like this art, because we can see different things and they all apply.
Mm-hmm.
They're all correct. And I agree mostly with what you were saying about this one too. I'm writing this line in these aftertalks if I should give you any of my thoughts or not, because I don't want to taint you and your impressions of things.
I can always just ignore what you say.
Well, the only thing
I'm pretty good at that.
The only thing I'm thinking is I always found, because they're playing with some Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
it very interesting that he takes a bite of an apple and then turns the gaze to basically freedom. It's a painting of the outside. I always wonder if that apple is supposed to be like an Adam and Eve reference.
I was wondering the same type
Fruit
of thing,
of
but like I say,
knowledge.
it's the wrong kind of symbol for that. But it's the putting things in a martini glass, because that's called, making it a medical cocktail.
Yeah,
that they're
exactly.
That's Western also.
Yeah, I think that it's important. Western culture, bits of it, are so played with, especially in K-pop, that it's really cool to think about interpreting these from an Eastern mindset, and I think a lot of it's there, but also you should never discount Western symbolism because it's just as popular there.
Or is it more that they're trying to make sure that it's more widely understood by us?
I mean, there's that fact too, but also Christianity is one of the top religions in South Korea.
Right. Well, the influence is quite there. It's just so predominant in it. It's kind of
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just what always made me curious in that video. Is this an Adam and Eve reference? Like, pills sedate you, but eating the fruit of the knowledge, I always found that interesting to think about, but that doesn't mean that's what they're talking about.
The second ink blot that had all those little, V part things in it, little things. What's that?
Oh, I'm going to actually, I'll put up a picture for you guys to see. I actually wanted to go back,
see what that ink blot is.
It's flipped up so quickly.
Yeah, because I couldn't quite make out the first one. I didn't understand until later when he was biting the apple.
Yes, because it's that same one.
Because that's what that ink blot is. It's close
so,
to the beginning.
This one, it's important to show, and it will come up again because it's not technically his symbol. So it actually
wasn't up there long enough.
It actually says Eva. Eva is a character from the book.
Okay.
Jimin.
Because all I could see were the little V's around.
Yeah, and I think you're meant to, because it's flashed so quickly, and this symbol does come back in a different character's film. So what I can say in terms of the book, Eva is the name of Demian's mom.
Okay.
And she's kind of the symbolism of motherly comfort in the book for Sinclair. So when he would think about
Eve
anything,
as in Adam and Eve.
Exactly. So if you think of anything like warm and homey and motherly and caring, that's who Eva was symbolizing in the book.
Are you sure it wasn't the Disney character Eva?
Right? That'd be even cuter.
Eva.
But so that's who Eva is in the book. It's up to you to decide why that was here or why it's used later. You know what I mean?
Okay. Because it didn't seem to fit.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been talking about this stuff with the apple. The apple is even a part of the Demian book. Mm-hmm. But I don't keep saying, oh, this is just because of the book, because there's a reason they chose that element. Right. You know, you understand. I'm sure a lot of you watching understand, but that's one of my criticisms of the theory community, actually, is a lot of them will go, oh, yeah, he's eating an apple because Sinclair eats an apple in the book. They don't even stop to think, well, why would they take that element and put it in this video? You know what I mean? So I think it all
even the words Demian, it means basically it's a play off. Demon.
I do believe it's a play off of Demon.
So Demon,
or Damien,
Eve, the apple, all that kind of stuff. It's all Western culture symbolism.
Yeah, and the apple in the book even was kind of an element, a part of the plot that was a turning point that brought Sinclair to Demian. So, I mean, it's...
And the other ink blot had the little bits of feather on it. So that's part of a wing, correct?
The other ink blot was his circle with that bite of the apple taken out of the side.
There was another one. The one with the little piece.
I thought it was the same one twice. I could be wrong, though. Oh, I wish. So there's the apple. And then Eva's
There's
there,
Eva.
so maybe it's earlier. Oh, that one.
What's that one?
Was that Jungkook's?
I think that...
Oh, here.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
it's
the
begin.
feathers.
Yes, exactly. You were right. That's the feather symbol for begin for the first video. So they showed him in order.
So
Begin,
feathers,
lie, and then Eva.
The apple, because the apple is the lie. That, in Adam and Eve, the lie was that if you fight this, you're going to live forever. And it's not quite true.
Well, it's also, you're going to gain knowledge.
Well, you're going to gain knowledge.
The knowledge of good and evil.
But it was built on a lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, guys, we're getting deep.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys. We're on to Stigma, which is one that I think is a lot of people's favorite. So I'm excited to see how you interpret it. This one is starring V. He's the one who was drowning, the one who jumped, the one who stabbed that guy, the one who graffitis. Like, I would consider him one of the two main characters of this story. Because he's in a lot of stuff you've already seen. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to give you going into this. That's who this is. This one it's good. So, 3, 2, 1, go.
It was the first fissure in the columns that had upheld my childhood, which every individual must destroy before he can become himself. Such fissure and rents grow together again, heal and are forgotten. But in the most secret recesses, they continue to leave and plead.
It's my favorite quote of all films. I love that transition. So name Kim Tae-yeon. So age 21. They're laying it. You guys are seeing it. They're layering it weird.
I'm sorry, my sister. 숨겨도 감춰도 지워지지 않아. So cry, please dry my eyes. 저 빛이 내 죄를 비춰줘. 나 깊이 내 죽을 것만 같아. 그 벌을 받게 해줘.
much more linear than the others.
Yes, it is. And basically, obviously the stigma he has is he feels guilty for what happened to his sister from his parents. Because he feels that somehow he should have been able to prevent some of it, or prevent it. And so he's feeling guilty, but it's feeling like he can't pay for it. He can't do anything. No matter how guilty he is, he wants somehow to pay for it or make restitution or do something, and he's stuck because he feels like he has this stigma put onto him by his parents that he can't get past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also explains his actions a lot more in the earlier videos.
It does. Basically, it appears that he saw his parents as drunks who were out of control and damaged him and his sister.
Yeah, and just his dad.
Just his dad.
Say. There's no mother.
Yeah, yeah. But at the beginning, when it talked about who
in the
built
quote.
it up, in the quote, it's parents.
Well, he said
typically when the father does something like that, and they do nothing with the mother, sometimes in the mind of the child, the mother should have done something.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So the mother gets blamed just as much as the person who actually perpetrated it.
Yeah. Because
the mother didn't stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was why I would say parents, plural.
Yeah.
It's really hard for a child to split the two up.
Yeah, and I think there's a case to back that up. Because now that you've said your interpretation, I mean, obviously in I Need You, it's his dad he killed for beating up his sister. In Prologue, when he's laying on the mattress, he turns and looks at a picture. Mm-hmm. And it's a mother and a small child, and he crumples it in his hand.
Right.
And then also in his eye, once he gets hit here, it's a mother holding a baby. So I think you're right on in that there's very conflicted feelings about his mom, too. Right. Even though through this whole story, there's no sign of her. Well,
but that's the key. If he didn't blame her at all, he'd be picturing her as a victim also. Mm-hmm. But he only saw the sister as the victim. Mm-hmm. Which places the mom in the limbo land of, she should have done something.
Yeah, she should have.
She didn't do it, but she should have stopped it.
Yeah, either she should have stopped it, or if she left as a child, she should have been there, or if she,
In the same way.
Or if she died even, sometimes people have guilt of,
Yeah, but
that.
He's blaming himself when he didn't do it, because he didn't stop it. So he's going to probably put a lot of that same blame on his mother.
Exactly. And also, acting out, begging someone, punish me,
I wish I could take it instead
of
her.
Yeah.
I wish I could have taken that beating for her.
Yeah, so I'm going to beat myself up now.
Uh-huh. To try to pay some penalty.
Because she suffered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry if I talked over you there.
No, that's
I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
That's all right, and that's why the slash through the picture is his violence that either he did or wished he could do, depends on whether it's metaphorical or not.
Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of right on.
Okay.
All right. What do you guys think? I'm so happy to be able to do these with you now because I obviously never got to react to them with you, so I'm curious about your thoughts. I think since everybody watching this probably knows the whole story, I think Stigma is really powerful in context, too.
But not knowing their real background.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'd hate to be the dad.
Oh, yeah, B's dad.
Because if it was made up for this instead of something that he's really
well, especially
doing,
since
I'd be afraid.
Well, especially since all the solo songs, the individual members either wrote and composed themselves or had a big hand in them. Uh-huh. So, he'd be like, my kid wrote this.
And now my neighbors want to kill me.
Right. I mean, thankfully, from what we know, what we have seen, he and especially his dad are very close. But I know exactly what you mean.
Right.
Fear of, oh no.
Yeah, I can imagine, she writes something like that showing me as a drunken person beating her up, and then going to church the next week and say, we saw that with your daughter.
Right. Thankfully, it's obviously a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I've actually thought that before about some things.
Okay.
So now we're going to move on to First Love, which I was just telling Dad, I find it really interesting because he's heard this song. In the very first video we did together, we did First Love and Forever Young. So, I don't know.
I already interpreted it, so I guess we just skip it?
You interpreted
No.
the song. The song has nothing to do outside of a couple, like, metaphors to do with the story. So this is Yoongi Suga's video. He's the one who got drunk and hit the friend. He's also the one who set himself on fire in the first one. So fire is definitely his element.
But even though we've had fire in the other people's...
Yes, and you could argue that's a touch of his presence in their lives. But definitely his element is fire in like every video.
Sugar does burn.
Yeah. But it makes a lovely creme brulee when it does. So yeah, that's him. His symbols are definitely fire and the piano, music. So yeah, that's his character, and he's closely tied. His like pair is Jungkook. So the one he was fighting with, the one who's whatever. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Interpret this how you will. But yeah, let's just do it. You guys know I'm so obsessive. I keep going like, what should I say? What should I not? And it all else fails. I'm just not gonna say it. So 3, 2, 1, go. I should do another series with these in the future. I break down the filming of them.
There are numerous ways in which God can make us lonely and lead us back to ourselves. This was the way it dealt with me at that time.
First Love. All right.
Okay. The closing symbol merged together a lie, at the piano.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the key. So you begin with him not caring. He's going to break the law. He's going to do whatever he can to get to that piano.
Mm-hmm.
Then he starts playing it, and it's not as satisfying as he's hoped.
That's an out-of-tune piano.
And then he starts being haunted by the melody of the piano. So he tries to walk away, and he starts going on a path, and he's nearly hit. And he realizes it's a dangerous path because it's not a stable career. It's not. There's so many pitfalls with that musical career. And then he turns around and gets hit with it, and it's suddenly pulled right into it. You see the splatter of him as he walks away.
Yeah.
Wiping out all those things, and he's thinking, what would have happened if I'd completely given up on music? And then he walks back and he sees that a lot of what he'd done with music had caused so much destruction, and how his old life was gone, burned up, and he was left now with music and lies. That's how I interpret that.
Very cool. Very interesting.
Okay. And the fire showing things going away, the past going away, and he can't get it back. But he fully expected to be caught and stopped originally because the alarm went off and he was waiting to be picked up and no one came. And so he fully expected people to stop him with it in his career, but it didn't. It haunted him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I find it very interesting. Like your interpretation, tying it to a career. Very interesting. I never thought about it that way before. So it's cool. Yeah. This is why I like doing this, guys. It makes me think. It makes me really happy.
So what did you think about it then? What did you tie it to?
Well, the similar bits is definitely like walking this destructive path, right? Like, all the beginning stuff I saw exactly the same. Like, he was doing all of these things that he knew weren't good. He desperately had this desperate, destructive relationship with music, where it was kind of, he needed it, but he knew it was bad for him. He broke the thing. I love your thought about he was waiting to get caught and nobody came. Because to me, that reminds me of like people who expect people to stop them from destroying themselves, but nobody does, right? And then he goes on this path, almost gets hit by the car, which again, I love your thought of that being like a sudden realization of like what's going on in your life, right? That you're being destructive. But I thought the message, the splatter, he could have died there. And to me, that's almost that idea of riffs, like in more of a general, I interpret it more in a general sense of whenever we're walking our lives, we make big decisions that bring us to one direction, but it means intentionally turning our backs on another path. So it was almost like a reality split. In one, he died, and in one, he lived. In one, he would have died if he'd still been in that shop, because of the shop where he's playing the piano. And obviously, that's the burning piano we've seen. And,
right.
But I am also making a lot of these thoughts, knowing things like the whistle that was directing him was Jungkook's song from the first video.
Okay.
Who was having nightmares of a burning piano.
But he began playing the song before the whistling started.
He did.
So is he saying Jungkook stole his song?
No. I love your thought about that being his song, like his music from there. I think in terms of story, and just because I know the story, Jungkook was the one who he expected to save him. And they had this relationship with music. And in my opinion, their friendship was very tight, but also fairly abusive. Like, You find out much later in actual story that, like, you know, his mom died in a fire, and he thinks that he's going to go down the same path. Like, he's a destructive person, right? And he's an alcoholic, and he's all this messed up stuff, and he keeps expecting Jungkook to save him, or he's running away from Jungkook because he doesn't want to wreck his life anymore. So I think that whistle was his friend saving him, get out of the store, trying to lead him away from that life, and then he stopped him from getting hit by the car. And as he's watching the piano, his past, his love go up in flames, the whistle is still calling him in another direction.
So why is his music a lie?
That I've never even thought that. I think that's really amazing. Like, that's a really interesting point. Because one of the big mysteries of these short films is the bubbles that mesh aren't done with the people who are paired in the story. So people would assume, oh, his would blend with Jungkook's, right?
No, I was just looking at the concept.
That's why I'm saying I love that.
And the music
I love that.
go together.
Yeah. And I think perhaps his relationship with music was a lie. Right? Like the piano, I think the piano a great deal represents his young self. You know, even in a song he talks about, which is not tied to the story, but it's like, you know, the piano was his first love, his first introduction to music. But in the story, it's so destructive for him, this relationship with music. And, like, the roots are corrupt in this tree of something that means something to him. So by destroying that piano, it takes away everything. And that means it's fresh start. It's like Phoenix-like. I don't know. Like, I think these are so artistic. And I'm so stuck in story that there's a million interpretations for it.
Right.
And I really liked hearing yours. Like, it made me think differently in really good ways. Because I'd always kind of attributed this to, oh, it's a parable about consequences. You know, every choice you make will take you down a different path, and that means you're leaving this other path. And we never know if we're walking away from the fire or toward the fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just showing, like, one shift of his heel, he would have been dead. He would have been that splatter on the ground. You know, or if he hadn't left the store, he would have been burned. But that also, to me, kind of gives this feeling of, like, fate still wants him alive. So there must be some good he could still make of himself, even though he was this really destructive person. I don't know.
Or if music...
I've never put into words how I interpret this. It's
or
always
maybe
been a
even
feeling.
if music to him is the lie. It's the way he can try to change his life in such a way that he'll like himself.
Yeah.
Through the music.
His music is Jimin's pill.
Right.
You know?
It's his way of dealing with reality.
Yeah. I think it's all valid.
Okay.
I love these conversations, you guys. I'm so excited. I don't get a lot of literary people to talk about this with. Like, I've never explained out loud in words what I think of in this video.
Okay.
I've always just interpreted through feeling. And so it's really cool to hear your interpretation, then force myself to put it into words outside of the rest of the story. And it's really good.
Good.
I don't know. Okay, guys. So now we're moving on to reflection. So this is RM's video. So he's the kind of leader of the pack. And his pair bond is with V, the one who kills his dad. And he's the one with the lollipop and at the gas station, and who also graffitis with V. In a way that I actually always interpreted as big brother teaching little brother, even if those teachings aren't the best. So his symbols are that lollipop, often a storage crate that he's living in because he's kind of homeless, so he lives in this storage crate. And phones, which I'm not going to explain further because that is part of interpreting this film.
Okay.
But keep an eye out in this one for returning symbolism, just like the burning piano in the last one.
Okay.
So, 3, 2, 1.
Go.
Go! Sorry. Poor dog's just trying to sleep.
The other realm, however, overlapping half our house, was completely different. A loud mixture of horrendous, intriguing, frightful, mysterious things, including slaughterhouses and prisons, junkyards and screeching fishwives, calving cows, horses sinking to their death, tales of robberies, murders, and suicides.
A big theme in the books is parallel universes, basically. That bird is back. Alright.
An extra short one.
Yeah.
With the merging of flying along with his shattered dreams. So what I see in this one is he feels totally trapped inside himself. He can't get out of himself. He wants to communicate, but he can't. He's kept from communicating with others. So he feels totally like he is trapped within his own vision of himself, and his dreams are shattered. He wants to fly. That's why he was putting the bird on him. But birds can't fly inside of a cage. And so he can dream about being with others. That's, to me, is the colors, is his dreaming of being able to do those things. And no matter what he does to try to, no matter what walls seem to break down, he still cannot communicate with anybody else properly. So he feels like he's all alone, caged, but wants to fly. And so his dream of flying is shattered. So he's not free. And he's stuck inside himself. Does that sound reasonable?
That's really beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the idea is not beautiful, but
Yes.
a beautiful way to put it. I'll say from a filmmaking perspective, one of my favorite bits of this is they constantly have sounds that shouldn't fit. You know, like the glass shatters and you hear a doo-doo-doo-doo instead of shattering. Or he puts paper in a cup and you hear a thunk. You know? That's nothing to do with theory. I just think that's really cool how they kind of disconcert you with the sounds don't match what you're looking at sometimes.
That's probably part of his, what he's perceiving is not real anyway. It doesn't match reality.
Yeah.
He's feeling trapped, but I think he's sensing that he's trapped. The imprisonment is of his own making.
Mm-hmm. He could step out of it. It's
He
not fully
wants
real.
to communicate,
Yeah.
but he doesn't know how.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So that's beautiful, and I'll have it stand. But now I want to talk about an element that you might have missed as a separate idea, not like, because I think you're right on. I love your interpretation. So the phone ringing.
Mm-hmm.
In Stigma, V says, "Can I make just one phone call?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's his pair bond. And as it's zooming away, and he's crying against the phone, the spray-painted words "liar" appear on the side of the phone booth in red. So my interpretation bit there too is I think he feels a lot of guilt that he didn't save his younger brother. He missed that phone call, and we can't help him. And his friend saying, "You said you'd always be there for me. You're a liar. You weren't there for me." So that's something I saw that I wanted as a separate interpretation from another really good one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only thing I see kind of problematic with that symbolism-wise is he's hearing it ring at the time, and he can't get to it.
Yeah.
It's not that he didn't know about it or he was too late. He could have done it at that time and was trying to, but couldn't.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. But no matter how hard you try.
So do you think the chains around that phone booth were of his own making?
I think it's I do. Because I think this stands with what you're already saying about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. I'm not saying this is what it means, but survivor's guilt is a real thing, right? If you have a friend who is put in jail for murder or kills themselves or whatever, however you want to interpret what happens to V, even if you tried everything you could, if you were their support, it's easy to blame yourself. Yeah. Like, what else could I have done? What did I miss? What clue did I miss? I'm there for them every single moment, but that one moment I wasn't there was the problem.
But the way I'd interpret that, though, I would have symbolized that as it's ringing and you can't find the phone.
Yeah.
Not that you're trying to get to the phone and you're prevented from it.
Yeah. The only reason I say that, and again, going to like future story that you don't have, basically in the story, when V is about to kill his dad, he calls his friend for help. And Namjoon is so stuck in himself, he ignores the call.
Okay.
So he made an active choice, and it led to his friend doing this thing.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's not before he... Yeah.
So it's more like
I might be misremembering that. It might have been right before he killed himself, too. There's a moment where he could have stopped something, and he chose, I don't have time for this right now.
Okay.
Which is the reason liar goes up in spray paint, like, you lied, you weren't there for me.
Or maybe the chains are time.
Yeah,
the chains are he can't go back in time and get to that phone call. He's obsessing
about this idea. Yeah.
So the chains are the fact that he missed the time. The chains are the time that he can't break. He can't go back in time and do it.
Yeah, and I think all of that dovetails into your original interpretation too. He's stuck in his own head, his own problems, his own everything, and doesn't know how to break out, can't break out, possibly doesn't even want to break out very deeply in the back of his mind. But that leads to destruction too.
But he's also self-respect. When he goes in there and he sees himself in all these mirrors,
yeah,
he's constantly looking at himself.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's ignoring things.
Oh, absolutely.
He's constantly introspective.
Yes. It's that, sometimes, even if you're trying to be a better person, I'm not saying he is, but if you look too deep, too long, too, that can be just as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he hit it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
See, this is why I can say they're art, because you can have really long conversations about a 2-minute video, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They spark conversation. Oh, what a baby. What a baby. She's so mad at us for filming. She just wants to be asleep.
That's okay.
Okay, guys, so now we're heading to the 6th short film. We're almost done, which is kind of sad. This has been a fun ride. So just 2 more short films, 6 and 7. So this is Mama, and this is... oh, before we get into it, this is my dog. She's under the blanket sleeping. If you've been watching this in order, you've seen her get more and more tired. So if Curious George starts wiggling, it's a dog. It's not like a ghost.
And if I'm not sitting forward, it's because the dog is
it's
on
like
my
half
arm.
on you. Yeah. So she wants to cuddle and she's tired, so that's what that is. But this video, so this is J Hope's video, which actually we're filming on his birthday. By the time this releases, it's way past his birthday, but it's his birthday now, so happy birthday, J Hope. So he's the one with the pill addiction from the beginning. He's the one who passes out on the bridge. I think he died on the bridge, but it's up in the air. And he was also the one actively in the hospital in the past scenes. Like, he's the one in the bed. He's the one who keeps passing out, stuff like that.
Okay.
So his symbolism is very obviously pills, constantly. This video is actually the spawn of a few future symbols for him, but at this point, you're nowhere near that in the story.
Right.
But so by this time, basically it's pills and like collapsing. He faints a lot, and originally that's attributed to them saying he has narcolepsy behind the scenes, but it could be true. But I personally think that's how they got around Korean censorship to say he has a drug problem. So, but that's still that thing, that kind of losing consciousness and pill addiction.
Right.
So, this is called Mama, and we're gonna get on into this.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, and his friend Link is Jimin. They were both in the hospital together. They both, I don't know if that comes into play here.
With a face that resembled her son's, timeless, ageless, and full of inner strength, the beautiful woman smiled with dignity. Her gaze was fulfillment, her greeting a homecoming. Silently, I stretched my hands out to her.
The martini glass again.
It is. But that's how the pill went into it. Don't know if it means anything, but I just noticed that.
Okay.
This isn't what you think of when you hear the word mama, to me at least.
Well, the two symbols that merged,
Mm-hmm.
okay, was his mother, Eva, and the slash.
Yeah.
The
dad.
hatred.
Mm-hmm. You're the first person I've heard of compare the circles, all the circles this way, and it makes so much sense. It really excites me.
Okay. And you notice that with the Eva and the slash, it doesn't stay that way. The colors run.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, it indicates the reason why he got the drug addiction, to try to deal with the problems he had with his mother,
mm-hmm.
and try to run away from it. The colors of the pills became the colors all on the walls that became the stickiness. But then he looks outside and he sees this beautiful outside. But when he opens up his box, he realizes it's an all illusion.
Mm-hmm.
There is no outside. There's just an image of what he thought would be outside. Mm-hmm. And it's the same image that's shown up in several other videos.
Yeah.
Where they have this vision of what nature and wonderfulness is, and it's all just an illusion of painting.
Mm-hmm.
So with him, he's trying to escape the fact that he has this deep love and need for the mother that really wasn't a mother to him.
Yeah.
That's the symbolism I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And that now, and you notice that at 1 o'clock, it all came in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just him. He's been fed these pills.
Mm-hmm.
He was given them as a way to try to keep him down, too.
Yeah.
So it's not just him choosing it, even though it was in a martini glass again as a recreational at first.
Yeah.
Now it's a drug rehab type
Yeah.
thing. And he's feeling restricted by that. But he's still torn apart because of his mother. He doesn't know how to deal with her.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting in everything you just said is you don't know the future of this story. And at this point, this was the first mention of his mother, but in the story, he's abandoned by his mother as a child. She takes him to an amusement park when he's 5, tells him they're going to play hide and seek, and to cover his eyes, and when he opens his eyes, she's gone. And that's what the Snickers bar is. She left him with a Snickers bar.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it really powerful.
Yeah, I recalled that Snickers bar thing from before.
Because you saw Fake Love.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that you caught that up. Like, I never made that connection with Eva bleeding into the cut, but it makes perfect sense in both the story and the imagery.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
You're good.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. The only thing I would mention here is something that most people don't notice because they don't go through these things frame by frame like I do. The doctor's report that you see for a split second,
Mm-hmm.
it says his diagnosis is Munchausen syndrome, which means he's faking being sick for sympathy. And some people interpret that as, oh, he's faking it to get pills.
Mm-hmm.
But some people also interpret it as, like you were saying, with being medicated to make him deal, that they're writing him off. You know, what's going on with him is fake.
Mm-hmm. Or he's really hurting inside and people aren't believing that he's hurting
that's
inside.
what I mean, yeah. So there's a lot of interpretations there. It was just an element I always found interesting that most people don't catch.
Well, the doctors who over-prescribe him drugs
Exactly.
aren't the people he should be trusting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the people he doesn't trust who are thinking that he's faking it.
Yeah. So good.
Okay.
And, you know, we mentioned this in Stigma, but when you're thinking, like, oh, if I was the parent, like, I'd have this shock moment. His song that actually attaches to this is an appreciation song for his mom.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
actually a really beautiful song. It has nothing to do with the video, but I'm kind of like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's tied to mama.
Yeah. I know when I write a lot of lyrics, especially when I wrote some of the first ones, like The Separation.
Yeah.
People were
He writes songs, guys.
people were talking to me about how hard it was for me to lose my wife that way.
Yeah.
when she never died. It just
Right.
I was trying to take the song written by the composer and imagine myself in that position.
Exactly.
And so I'm sure there are a lot of songs that they're doing the same way,
Yes.
where they're trying to imagine themselves in a position they may not actually fully be in,
Yes.
but which they can empathize with so
Yeah.
strongly.
Because, like, you, obviously your wife's not dead, but you've had loss before, or you've had a broken heart before.
Or I
you've
can
had,
imagine some things. There are a lot of
Exactly.
things. If I'm writing lyrics to a space odyssey type thing, where people are going along on a long trip that they'll never get to see the end of.
Yeah.
I've never been there. I don't know anyone who's been there, but I can imagine in my mind
Exactly.
what types of things I'd feel. And a lot of these songs might be similar to that. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure how much is real, how much is imagined, and how much is them trying to get something hidden inside out
Yeah.
somehow.
And to me, that's real music, right? Like, I think it's important that they don't tell us exactly what's real, what's not, whatever. Because it's a privacy issue. But two, you can feel a feeling and interpret a situation one way. You don't necessarily want to say how you interpreted it or whatever, because it might not be true for other people, or you don't want to hurt people's feelings, or you don't, or just you thought one day, oh, what if this had happened to me? And you know a lot of people that this has happened to, and you want to write about it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of reasons to do things.
It's just like sketching art.
Yeah.
You don't put in every single detail because you want the person to fit in their little bits of the detail themselves. Because
It means something to them.
yeah, so that they'll feel that connection. Because once you make it too detailed, it's not them anymore.
Yes.
But if you make it in relatively general, they can apply it to themselves
Yes.
and fill in the details themselves.
And you can relate.
Right.
And that's how you and I could hear the same song and interpret it completely differently, because we have different lives.
Mhm.
But the song acts as a conduit to feeling.
Right.
All right, guys. It's the last short film. We're going on to Awake. This is Jin's video, who's my child. You all know Jin is my son.
Stop biasing my bias.
We don't even know who your bias is yet, and they're not going to find out until the end of this series. So, Jin is the one who's the driver, the one who's always recording, the one who, outside of enabling, has never actually done anything wrong. He's the one who's building the house of cards, and I think most importantly, he's the one in I Need You where everybody's distracting around him. He's the one in the room, like with the flower petals. I will say, it's not really a spoiler, it's just not obvious unless you follow them, that the flower petals, there's always 6, and they represent the other members.
Okay.
So, like, when he's holding flower petals, he's, like, holding them. You know what I mean? But beyond that, this is the wrap-up for the short films, and afterwards we're going to get your take on this film, but then also the series as a complete unit.
Okay.
Alright? So,
It's all right.
3, 2, 1, go! Jin is definitely also a main character, along
Okay.
with V.
The bird fights its way out of the egg. The egg is the world. Who would be born must first destroy a world. The bird flies to God. That God's name is Abraxas.
In the book, it's very Gnostic. I don't know if you know who Abraxas is.
No.
We can talk after.
There's the apple again.
how they give you the pictures at the end, like, these were the symbols to watch. Alright, how's the logo gonna end? That's the finished logo for Wings. Alright. Thoughts?
Okay. Well, this was pretty obvious.
Yeah?
The other 6 pictures, basically he's looking at this band, this group of people there. He feels responsible for them. He feels like it, but he also feels like it's a temporary illusion. And that these beautiful things, these people, are being put on fire right now. It's going to be a quick flame and then it might be gone. He walks into the other room and he finds out most everything is an illusion. It looks beautiful, but it's not real. Then he goes down the hall, as they go on the course of being this group of people. He sees the bird as the illusion also. They're flying, but on the wall, the background is the devil.
Oh, that was Abraxas.
Abraxas. Okay, explain Abraxas. Make
So,
sure that I'm
really
proper
quickly.
there.
So Abraxas is a concept in both the Gnostic religion, but it's a part of the book. So I think they're referencing the book, not Gnosticism.
Okay.
But the book is highly rooted in Gnosticism. So in that theory, Abraxas is like the main god, the creator of everything, who also created other gods who created worlds. So in Gnosticism, the concept is that the god that made our world messed up when they made the world because it was out of kind of hubris to want to make something like them. And that's why human nature is we're all temporary and mortal, but our souls keep thinking ahead and keep striving for different things because we're all gods in embryo who are stuck in mud, basically, because this god screwed up. And Abraxas is that god's god.
Okay.
Does that make sense at all? So when he's saying, the bird is in the egg leaves the world, breaks the world to fly.
Well, you destroy your world in order to escape the world.
Exactly. So it's kind of, you can think of it as a god that encompasses light and dark. There's like no god and devil in that theory. Abraxas is all of it.
Okay.
So he's light, he's dark. Well, I'm saying he, but it's like male, female, light, dark. It's the whole concept of yin yang as one creature who's supposed to be like God, So it's
but it's multiple images of him all over.
Yes, the wallpaper. That's the old Abraxas coin image from like Roman mythology. Right. And so the bird is also Abraxas, the bird coming out of the egg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but a lot of people reading this theory never even know that. I just know it because I suddenly got absorbed in what is Gnosticism because I ran into it. A lot of Jungian psychology is greatly based on Gnosticism too. So yeah, that's what Abraxas is. But I still want your take. Yeah.
But he still sees everything as mesh, and then he sees the pictures and they're undeveloped. Just like here are all these undeveloped people, and he's watching them develop in front of him and become vivid and become unique. But he also is seeing them as being temporary.
Yes.
And it's that weave, is he's seeing them woven together into this one group. And he's terrified of what's going to happen over time. What's going to happen? Are they going to self-destruct? What is their future?
Yeah.
Because
it's undeveloped.
Because their world can may be destroyed as they leave.
Yes. Definitely.
Okay? Yeah. Something like that?
Yeah, I think you've got it right on. Because all I would point out are little symbols, but they all support what you said. Like obviously the 6 pictures are the 6 symbols from the past films.
And in the beginning, when the candles go out, that's representative of people, careers, hopes dying.
Yeah.
And he's seen that happen before.
The wheel, right?
And then he's got these 6 that he feels responsible for, and he's afraid it's going to happen to them too.
Yeah.
And he's responsible because he lit them. He got them started.
Yeah. I'm really excited you said that. Because it dovetails into, I'm not going to tell you how, but it dovetails majorly into my theory, which is the weird theory. Like, it's very different from most people's theories, and I'm really excited somebody else is seeing this. Like, I saw it.
You might think that we were genetically related
Right.
or something like that.
But yeah, I think you're right on the money, very particularly about him feeling responsible for them. A thing I noticed watching it, that again, I'm not sure how many people noticed, but he interacts with a symbol for each member as well. You know, the apple,
Mhm.
the little earpiece that's full of static, the scratches on the walls that mimic the scratches on the graffiti with the
Mhm.
screwdriver, the chained up bureau,
Right.
like the chained up phone, the drug addiction, everything.
But you notice he doesn't take a bite of the apple.
Yeah,
Because he's afraid of the truth.
yeah,
Because taking the bite of the apple gives him a knowledge of the truth. But he would rather not know the truth. That's why he drops the apple, doesn't take the bite, and walks past it.
yes,
Even though because he's afraid if he finds out the truth, he's not going to like what he hears or sees.
Absolutely.
And that he would almost rather see the illusion that he knows is there.
yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
all I can really say.
And that's why that last symbol is that interwoven tight weave.
Yes, and it's the last on its own. So, with all that said, do you have any specific thoughts on this as a whole piece? All of it. Like, you could say no, too, because you talked a lot in depth, but
Yes.
yeah, this is the end of the short
Basically-
film set.
Basically, there are only 4 pieces, but there's seven members.
Yes.
They're totally interwoven with each other. They're combined with each other. You can't take any part of it out and not change the symbol as a whole.
Mhm.
So the symbol is actually a group.
Mhm.
But the symbol changes if any one of the group leaves.
Yeah.
But the symbol is made up of their hopes, their dreams, and their pain.
Yeah. That's really beautiful,
Okay.
too. You keep saying beautiful things, and I'm proud to be your daughter.
Yeah, but I'm supposed to be handsome, not beautiful.
I said you're saying beautiful
Okay, all right,
things.
good.
It's that time. I'm going to make the man watch Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
And remember, I'm an old guy. To me, Blood, Sweat, and Tears was an old rock group.
Yes.
I had their cassette a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There have been a few songs named this. There have been a few groups named this. But this is my Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yes.
This is what I'm going to be like. When I was young, I had the Blood, Sweat, and Tears song on CD. Like, yeah.
I actually had it on 8 tracks, so.
So, this is also kind of an auspicious moment for our channel, because the very first video Ashlen and I uploaded together was Spring Day, which is the music video that came after Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So by reacting to this with you, I feel like we get to watch something that I really love that we never got to react to on the channel, because Ashlen and I started making... This is the video that got Ashlen and I so into this group that we started the channel.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys saw Spring Day, but you never saw Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Because of his nature, I have warned him about the crotch grabs. I know most
I
of you
won't be impressed with that.
Yes. But, yeah, this video is very interesting, I think. Yeah, once again, because we're focusing on theory and story, I don't have the lyrics on for it on purpose. In the future, we might have him react to the lyrics, because, again, they're pretty separate. But I want him to be able to pay attention to the video. So it is an intentional choice. I didn't forget how to use closed captioning or, you know.
So if I'm completely off, it's not my fault.
Oh, no, you're fine. Again, the songs can be read into the story, but they're also incredibly separate,
Okay.
you know. The songs were made to be songs and to play on the radio, and they work well with this, but it's not necessary to read the words to come up with a theory story that makes sense.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You're gonna stumble onto everything they're saying in the song just by watching the symbolism.
Okay.
So I'm talking too much because I really love this. As I told him, this is one of the songs I can sing 100% fine in Korean because I love this song so much, which is gonna make him judge me when the song starts, but I do really like this. This is what got me into theorizing. This is the short films. So, 3, 2, 1, go. I think Dad's gonna judge me a lot after seeing this video, to be honest.
Hopefully I won't disown you.
No. They've all changed their hair, so it might be hard to know who's who now. You'll get it, though.
And definitely not Korean art.
No.
It's Greek Roman.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of famous pieces here.
Yeah.
Chocolate cheeks and chocolate wings, but no, you're not getting out my good. No, you're sweet, I can eat a leader. Kiss me, I'm on the way, hustle, I told you, told us, and I just do the walk there. Baby, cheat the way, he did a deal, no whiskey, no whiskey. The pit 내 마지막 춤을 다 가져가. 높이 딴 눈물 내 차가운 숨을 다 가져가. 원내 money 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 원내 money 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 money.
Close your eyes.
원내 money money. 내가 도망칠 수 없게 꽉 쥐고 나 흔들어줘. 내가 정신 못 차리게 Kiss me 후렴대 믹스만의 너란 감옥에 중독되게 네가 아닌 다른 사람 선비지 note 알면서도 삼켜버린 독이들 피땀 눈물 내 마지막 춤을 다 가져가. 내 피땀 눈물 차가운 숨을 다 가져가. 원내 money 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 원내 money 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 원내 money 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 원내 money 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 죽여줘. 너의 손길만을 감겨줘. 어차피 거부할 수조차 없어. 더는 너만 갈 수조차 없어. 또 네가 너무 달콤해 너무 달콤해 너무 달콤해서. He too was a tempter. He too was a link to the second. The evil world with which I no longer wanted to have anything to do.
When a short film just popped in the middle of a music video.
Is that supposed to be Abraxas?
No. Abraxas is like half rooster.
Well, it had wings on it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think after. Well, I mean, you're gonna actually get an answer real quick. There you go.
Okay.
Told you blood, sweat, and tears gets weird.
But it's cohesive.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Explain.
Which version?
Explain.
Okay. I could interpret it 2 or 3 different ways using the same symbolism.
Absolutely, you can.
Okay. The one I think that starts out with, if I understand the word money.
Money, money, money. More, more, more.
Right.
Or I
Excess.
like you a lot, basically. It is, the
That
song is
basically-
very much about obsession, temptation. Yeah. The song itself, I'm saying. To help you.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, it's not money.
Okay, because it sounded like it.
Yes, every single person, the first time they hit us, going, money? It's money. Yeah.
Okay. But basically,
Same
it's
idea.
based on excess. First, they look at all these wonderful things, this artistic things. And at first, I was thinking it would be a different tone,
Yes.
different thing. But where basically they were thriving in excess. And it's looking really good at first, and then it turns out that their excess and the fact that they have this excess is their own prison.
Mhm.
That they are in prison. Basically, they're basically like the fallen angel,
Mhm.
that the wings are clipped, and so it had the capability of doing great things, but because of all this excess and all this ease and all this luxury, that they've lost their true meaning, their true purpose. They're kind of archaic, breaking, falling apart.
Yeah.
That's kind of one kind of scenario.
I think that's absolutely the scenario behind the song. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's very valid. Yes.
That's valid. Another way I could have looked at it is quite different.
Yeah. Give us all the ways to look at it.
Well, one is artistically.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at the blood, sweat, and tears it took to make this art,
Mm-hmm.
and how much effort it took, and how much it's taken for granted now. You know, you see this beautiful statue, oh, that's pretty, instead of thinking, oh, all the work and the blood, sweat, and tears that went into creating each of these things that they are now taking for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And how, over time, what they're doing is destroying that art instead of creating it. And they've become part of that art that is now becoming corrupted and being broken.
Very cool.
Okay? It's
Yeah.
another way of looking at it.
Yes. So now, do you have other ways as well? I don't want to interrupt your trains of thought.
Another one was having to do with superficiality.
Mm-hmm.
Everything looking like porcelain. Everything looking like it's so wonderful, that everything is so fragile. And loving things that are of really no real value. And with the eyes covered, I don't want to know, I don't want to realize how worthless I truly am compared to all of this effort that went in there. And I want to just bask in believing that I'm worthy of all of this stuff that I didn't create.
Yeah.
That's another way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So which one do you think is the most valuable?
Well, now I'm going to give you a challenge.
Okay.
So this is technically a continuation of the short films that we just watched.
I recognize the bird symbol.
Yes, and the apple, and the yes. So my challenge for you, and which is genuinely difficult, you just watched this for the first time. If you'd watched this 10 times, it'd be a little easier. Is to put this in the story that we've seen in the short films. And to do that, I'm going to give you some information so you know who's who. Right. So the guy who stabbed his dad is the fallen angel who had the wing cuts and also who covered Jin's eyes to reveal the dark angel. Same guy. Guy under the sheet. Yes. And the one who's looking at the art and continually looking to camera, the one who seems like something's wrong, that's Jin, the one from the last short film, the one who you said you feel. And
the one on the swing that was suspended.
The one on the swing is the guy who got hit by the car, the youngest.
What the kind of the death throw on it.
So putting some of those things into context, does that change any interpretation? Again, it doesn't have to, and it could also be, I just watched it once.
Who were the two that were in the room isolated from all the art, who were isolated in their own little room and can only see it through the mirrors and the floor?
The one with
windows
the blindfold and apple, or the ones in the smoke room?
The room above the art.
Yeah.
Who could only look down at the art that were in this basically
like the
bare
blue room. Yeah. So those two are the one with the alcohol problem is the one who blindfolds the guy in the tub, the one with the depression, the lie guy. Yeah. So the one with lie was the one who was attached to the door by his blindfold.
Okay. Tied to it.
Yes.
Okay. The guy with the lollipop, where was he in this one?
RM, he was in the room with the bird. He's the one who drank the green liquid. And he's the one who like blew smoke out of his mouth and was stuck in the room with the smoke.
And realized that he was cracked?
No, that was Jin.
That was Jin.
The one who kissed the angel, the dark angel.
Okay, who was cracking just like a statue.
Yes. Which is why everything you said before, like outside of the story, superficiality and stuff, I think every BTS music video has a meaning as a standalone project and they can fit in the story. I think you hit right on the nail, the meaning of the standalone project.
Okay.
Because this is about, the way they've described it is being about like temptation and obsession and superficiality. You know, like you hit that right on.
Okay.
Which is how I think that's one interpretation of the guy turning into a cracked statue, right? He's become the art, like you were saying. Yeah, I think it might be a little difficult to fully fit it into the story after one viewing.
Right. Well, a lot of the symbols were there.
Yes.
But exactly how to fit them in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, just because they're shown that way, I think it's cohesive in they're all living that lie. They're all living that superficial life.
Yes.
They're all living that we are the art also.
Yes.
But we're also being put in this extremely luxurious lifestyle, which is really kind of a prison.
Yeah.
And kind of a lie.
So it kind of fits back with all the themes you've been talking about in being trapped. Things aren't what they look like. Things that are lies. Things that are beautiful on the outside can be crumbling on the inside. Like everything you've talked about before.
And that wild kind of lifestyle that really isn't helpful to anyone else.
Yeah.
Now, who's the one in the silk sheet coming through?
That was V, the one with the angel wings on his back. The cuts on his back, and the one who killed his dad.
What does the silk sheet that he's going through symbolize?
I mean, it's art. It's up for debate. Personally, I see it almost like a cocoon, like coming out. Oh, well, I mean, do you...
Like he could come out and he was almost the butterfly but lost its wings.
That's definitely an interpretation,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. In terms of thinking of story, it could, just thinking off the top of my head, it could also be a reveal of true nature, being a fallen angel. Like, do you want me to talk about, like, get down into my...
Well, you were challenging me. I was trying to figure out exactly what you
Which
want
is what
now.
I want you to keep doing, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do you have other questions? What did you think of the...
Why green?
I can answer that in terms of what I think. I think green is the color of V's influence on people.
Okay.
That's my personal
Because
opinion.
there's green coming out of their dripping, but there's also green smoke.
Yes. And that same color green, which only people obsessive like me will notice, is dyed into V's hair in Run.
Okay.
So my personal belief is it's... I want to get through your questions before I taint your thoughts.
And there were several of them who were actually leaving that
Yes.
place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they were successfully walking away.
Yes.
And saying, that's fine to look at, but I'm not taking it serious. But one was kind of hanging back
Yes.
and hard to pull away.
Yeah.
Who was being hard to pull away?
That's the one from the last short film. That's
Mhm.
Jin,
Okay.
who feels responsible for the rest of the group. You were
And
saying.
that's why he was looking at it and saying, is this really what we should be being part of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Absolutely. He's the one who keeps breaking the fourth wall. If someone's making eye contact with you through the screen,
Mhm.
it's Jin.
Okay.
What did you think of the quote from the book in the middle?
Trying to remember which quote
He
it was.
said, he too was a tempter, he too was a link to the second, the evil world with which I no longer wanted to have anything to do.
Yeah.
That's how much I've watched this video.
No, I didn't recall that one.
Yeah, when he's holding the balloon, right before the short film started.
Okay.
I mean, I think it links to what you're saying too, and like leaving behind a destructive life, right? The evil
Well,
world.
the temptation is the beauty and the luxury of this world that's fake.
Yes.
And that's an illusion. And that if they stay there long enough, they become the statues. They become the art.
Yeah.
And they become fake.
Yeah. I think it's when I say valid, that's not like downplaying it. That's definitely an interpretation of this that works.
Okay.
I've actually always been a fan of them as art theory that has kind of gone around because there's some very famous pieces in this video.
Oh yeah.
Especially the Madonna. The Madonna is used a lot, which makes sense. Yeah. Any other questions?
No.
All right, cool. So...
But it's not like the blood, sweat, and tears I was raised
No,
with.
nothing at all. I was about to give you some of my theories, but I actually think if I do that at all, it's going to be at the very end. Because I still have one more video I want to show
Yeah, and you don't
you.
want to taint me too much.
Yeah, I don't want you to interpret, especially the next video, through the eyes of my theory. So, yeah. So what we're actually going to do next is, and to kind of end this, is I'm going to show him the trailer for the Wings tour, which is something that they put out right before they went on tour. And a lot of people I found haven't seen it or didn't watch it. Because when I used clips of it in my theory, constantly people were like, what's that from? What's that from? So, it doesn't add a ton to the theory, but I think it's important. So we're going to react to that, and it's going to be kind of the end of our theory exploration. If you guys really insist, we will do the highlight reels, but as I've said before, the Love Yourself era story it's all webtoon now. Like, there's nothing really to figure out anymore. And it's very linear and very much a story. It's not really a big interpretation thing.
So they've defined it so much that sometimes, like you say, when you define it so much, you start losing people.
Yeah, well,
because they're not as emotionally connected with it.
Yeah, to speak frankly for a minute, and I hope nobody feels bad or takes offense to this. I think my theory about the process of this was that they made the HYYH story. It got very popular, so they expanded it into Wings, and they changed it a good deal. And then it stayed really popular, and a lot of people were making theories, and they kind of wanted to move on from this story. They didn't want to make the whole rest of their careers about this one story. So they did the Love Yourself era and made it so clear that nobody would be mad if they moved on to something else because they didn't explain the story.
Okay.
So it is, to me, very good. And there is, like Euphoria, I think, is a very interpretable video. But if you watch it in order, I mean, I could be wrong. Correct me if you felt differently. I think it's really hard to watch Euphoria and not think just of story if you've seen the highlight reels. Because that's where they're literally going, okay, we're going to lay this entire story out on the line as like a book for you. I mean, in fact, novels are coming out. They've already talked about them. So, again, we can do them, but I think it's hard to artistically interpret a lot of the Love Yourself era stuff. And since we're not trying to make one huge theory out of this, I personally don't see a huge point in it. It hasn't lost me. I completely see why they progressed the way they did. But as someone who likes the surreal and the mysterious, it's been a little weird for me to, have answers. I never really wanted answers, but I know most people did, and also, I definitely don't think with as popular as the story got, that they could just drop the story and without laying it all out on the line for people, or people are just going to be lumping every video they do for the rest of their careers into the story, whether it applies or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, not bashing, they haven't lost me, but I am kind of sad. Which is why I haven't delved into the webtoons a lot, because I liked my nonsense theory, and the fact that it's not going to make sense makes me sad.
We like being right.
No, I don't. It's not even about being right. I think for me, I miss there being 1,000 interpretations for something instead of a canon. And honestly, if they're really smart with what we know of the future story, I genuinely think they should say, well, this, like Clue, well, it could have happened this way.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of ways to do this. But, yes. Also, Wings Era, I think, is really underappreciated, and I think they dropped a lot of it for the highlight reels because it complicates things a lot. I could be wrong. The webtoons might answer all of it, but I want to promote the Wings Era. I think it's cool enough that I want more people to remember it. Alright guys, it's been a long, winding, dark, crazy journey, but we're at our last video for this little series, right? So, I've said it in other videos, you guys might be wondering why are we watching a trailer for a tour that happened 2 years ago, but for those of you who've seen it, you might know why, and those of you who haven't seen it, welcome to the last bit of surreal piece of this puzzle that most of you never paid attention to. I really think this is important to the story, and it's really artsy and really crazy, and I'm excited to see your interpretation because, like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the Japanese version, it is all just up for interpretation. Yeah, so let's just dive on in and see what happens. 3, 2, 1, go. It also has very little to do with a tour.
Swinging.
Yeah, same guy. There's going to be a lot of repeat symbolism in here.
Oh, yeah.
On purpose. And I went to this tour.
And he went to fire. And it's a glass swing. I didn't notice that. There's the reflection. The water. The colors.
Madonna again.
The wings sprouting. smoke. And being blocked in. The wings growing back.
Yeah. Green smoke.
Mm-hmm. The cracking.
A little more severe cracking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The aging. And the bleeding. How fragile they are. The green and the black. And again, with the age, things falling apart. The desire to fly.
Oh.
I think we pretty much covered that.
Yeah.
The same symbolism type things.
Yeah. The only thing I would point out from what we were saying is when V turns into an angel, that's a dark face.
Yeah.
That's not a happy angel. Well, I mean, it is a happy angel, but he's not happy for a lot of the chill reasons.
Yeah. But it's falling apart. It's aging. But you notice he never actually flies.
No, not at all.
He's wants to fly, but can't. It's an illusion. And the feathers coming out the top, starting to molt.
Well, I think they're freshly sprouted.
Freshly sprouted, yes, but not lasting because everything's falling apart. And the glass swing.
Yeah, fragile.
I didn't notice that it was glass before. So in other words, it can shatter.
Yeah, I don't think it was glass in Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but it is here for sure.
But it's burning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, burning up. It's kind of like they're foreseeing that groups like this flourish and then suddenly burn out and fall apart and age.
Yeah.
And I think that's their biggest fear, is that they'll fall apart, age, and no longer be a group.
Yeah, and I think that can play in both the story and in terms of the band.
Yeah.
Because quite a few of their songs actually are not necessarily fear of burning out, but an acknowledgement that they will. So they have quite a few songs like ranging from, if we don't keep working, we're going to go back to being where we were. Mm-hmm. Or J-Hope actually has a song called Daydream that talks about basically like everything is working now and I can see my future and everything, but it's not always going to be this way. Mm-hmm. Or it's going to... Just that acknowledgement that either it can fall apart or that just naturally, even if they have the best career ever, they're going to come back down.
Or it's all going to go up in flames.
Yeah, like that's a possibility for sure.
Mm-hmm. And yet, the one who's trying to hold it together feels it's his responsibility for starting it and for watching what happens.
Yeah, and he's the one falling apart like a statue.
Mm-hmm. Because of age.
Yeah.
But it's premature age. It's rapid aging.
Yes. Things can fall apart very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Even before it actually takes off.
Yeah, which... Like, I don't want to keep... Because these are real people, and I feel like a lot of people forget that these are real people, and just because they're bigger than life, I don't always like to make assumptions about their real life. Mm-hmm. But I find it powerful that we're interpreting this way, and the Wings album and tour is when they actually started getting very big.
Right. But at the time this was happening, they didn't know how big they would get.
That's what I'm saying.
So like, they thought that they could quickly burn out.
They were almost seeing the future here. Yes.
They could quickly be a flash and a one-hit wonder and be done.
Yes. That was definitely a fear of theirs. Because it took them 2 years before they even had a song win anything. Right. Like, they struggled for a long time with no recognition.
Some of the most successful artists are the ones who put their biggest fears into their songs.
Yeah.
Or their biggest heartaches into their songs.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I think that's one of the things that made him successful. Instead of hiding behind some pre-canned lyric or something that they thought was safe. They put their heart and souls into it, and their greatest fears.
Yeah, and I think that's why they can perform so well and why they can sing passionately, because they're like, no, for real, this is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and it's their drive too. They don't want to burn out. They don't want to fail. They don't want, especially prematurely.
Yeah.
They want to be able to fly and launch.
Yeah.
So,
but they also realize, in my opinion, to stay humble, they realize that everything can leave.
And everything is fragile.
You do the best you can, and you can be on the streets in a month, you know? Like,
right.
And I think one of the biggest reasons I respect them is, right now, they are the biggest boy band in the world, and they're arguably one of the biggest pop acts for a couple decades. Like,
right.
But despite all of that, they're still some of the humblest people I see, and dump a lot of their money into charity. And especially Yoongi has explicitly said, I do it because I don't want to ever become greedy. I don't want ever to be ruled by money. I've been super broke before. Now I have everything I could ever want. So it's really tempting for me to just become wealthy and greedy. So I'm going to donate.
So yeah, see all that pictures of luxury and everything like that being a trap.
Yes. I think that's why you nailed it on the hit it on the nose for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, because I think that is their fear, that they could get absorbed into this luxury and forget where they came from, forget other people.
But like the most successful bands, they took huge risks. They were different.
Yeah.
They tried to be unique, but at the same time, they were working like dogs to try to keep up and keep working hard and keep going, because they know it can be a short ride.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, you're not a BTS super fan, but I think you just kind of nailed why most of us respect them, because that's all true of them. Mm-hmm. And they're very open about, this could be a short ride. This could be over tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do everything we can now. Yeah.
And most artists, even if they're good singers and they've got good material, don't even get a chance for that one album or that one record.
Yeah.
So they know that they've been put in a position where they have huge opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's scary being on top.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
Because when you're on top, there's only one way to go. And it's down or further up.
Yeah.
And further up is unsupported.
Yeah, and people want to take you down the higher up you go. It reminds me of one of the things that RM Namjoon said that I really liked is in a live, people are like, oh, you're perfect, oh, you're wonderful. And he stopped, he goes, no, I'm exactly like you. I just got very lucky. Mm. And I like that they recognize there are a ton of very talented people who never do anything because they never catch that break.
Right.
Being successful and good at your work takes being good at your work and luck. Without the two, you won't go anywhere. I love that that's where we ended talking about this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I keep saying the story is layers, right? Every video can stand on its own with its own message. There's a story that goes through a lot of things, but I'm the one constantly in my heart searching for, well, where's the true line? Why did they do this? Why is this story important to them?
Yeah, but I think that's Western culture thinking. To me, the Greeks did a bad thing by saying, what one thing does this mean?
Oh, no, I don't mean
compared to lots
that.
of things. To me, I like the fact that one story can have a whole ton of different meanings.
Yes.
And you can tell the same story and get a different meaning each time.
Yes.
I like that better because there's some people who try to put such a fine detail. What did they mean? I prefer what area of things are they hinting at?
Oh, yes, and that's why I love the story.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I've said constantly, even with my theories, I am not presenting what I think is real. I'm presenting one story. Even my theory was born out of, oh, there are these like 3 popular theories. Can I make something that has nothing to do with those theories? At one point before everything was coming out, I was thinking of even writing Big Hit and saying, hey, could I make a compilation of people's theories into like a book that the proceeds could go to your charity or something. Because I love that there's 1,000 different stories.
Mm-hmm.
What I meant by finding that personal level wasn't what's the truth, what were they trying to say, but like, this is a good story, and I think every good story starts with the reason you pick certain things is because it's on your mind, or the reason you think of certain things. I think what we're talking about here is the emotional through line they might have had while making this.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of reasons that they touched on some of the things they did. Like, the issues that they picked for the characters were born out of wanting to express a wide variety of outcasts that society tends to ignore and express problems a lot of teenagers really have, like, you know, addiction, depression, and stuff that everybody's hiding. Like, they had all these social reasons and other reasons to do it, but I'm constantly wondering, but why that? What drew you to that? What drew you to this book? What drew you to that? And I think a good chunk of this is that recognition of life can be really hard, and you can step out of that life and be very successful, but 2 seconds later you can be back to where you started. And that's important to remember no matter where you are in this mountainous journey.
And sometimes the best therapy for people is to be able to bring out their hidden story in a way that doesn't cause them grief back.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's why I'm really happy this is where we got to at the end of this. I think that's more powerful than, well, here's a timeline we think of events.
Right.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this journey with us, and it really meant a lot to me, both to you and to you guys, that we got to do this. It's very special to me. So I hope you liked it. And I hope you liked it, or at least don't want to die now. And I know she didn't like it. She just wants to go to bed, and she's sick of filming. But yeah, so if you have other ideas, other things you want to do, please definitely let us know. But for now, it's the end of this series, and I'm really happy with it.
And if you guys are budding artists, just remember, learn something from this.
Yeah.
Learn how hard it is to make it. And don't beat yourself if you don't.
Yeah.
Enjoy the art for the art.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people I know who put out beautiful music who have very, very few subscribers.
Yeah.
And that's okay as long as it makes you happy.
Yes.
And as long as it brings out those emotions that you need to bring out.
Yeah. And remember, a lot of you guys who are watching an army and you're like, oh, BTS, they're perfect, they're wonderful, they're unimaginable. At the end of the day, they could have been just as talented and beautiful and perfect and never made it. And so you can also be you're just as perfect as they are, you know? Like, they got lucky, and they'll admit they got lucky. And so even if you haven't gotten lucky, that doesn't mean you're not on their level. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, express and learn. And remember that the best art comes from digging into yourself and putting it out there. It's okay to put things that you think might be shameful about yourself into another context and make something beautiful out of it. So, yeah. So with all that said,
live long and prosper.
Also, like, comment, and subscribe to both of us.
Bye.
Okay, guys, I'm tacking this on because we totally forgot to have my dad say his bias. So here, you're getting selfie style. Who is your bias? Who did you choose? Or who chose?
Yoongi Sugar.
Sugar!
The piano got me.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I was raised around pianos, and I understand. I relate to that.
And he was playing an organ in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And that's very your family.
The family is very musical that way.
I think that's very funny because he is both Ashlen's and my bias wrecker. He's our second favorite for both of us. So you joined the family for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, we've got a Yoongi stan. I know a lot of you are going to like that. And I don't know. Yoongi writes a lot of the music. You write a lot of music. It fits.
Yeah, it seems to work.
All right, guys. So glad to tack that on. Hope it wasn't disappointing. And all you Yoongi fans can celebrate that you got another among your midst.
And all the ones who hate Yoongi and Sugar, well, bye-bye.
Please be healthy, as he would say. All right. Bye.
왜 혼자 사랑하고 혼자서만 이별해